You guys heard just like I did that college students now, many of them favor socialism over capitalism. You know why that's the case? That's the case because they don't know what socialism is. They don't know what capitalism is. They have no clue simply because they have gone to college. And I'll break down the differences momentarily. But if you want to make college affordable, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you that there is a correlation between college affordability and students who prefer socialism over capitalism. College affordability is very simple. All right. You should start trades in high school. Maybe you're behind, shouldn't go to college in the first place. So let's start there. Also, ACT, SAT scores. Only certain people belong in college. You got to get the federal government out of college, plain and simple. That's what's causing skyrocketing costs. Affirmative action has to go bye-bye. Only citizens should be allowed to go to college. I know I'm going to make some people mad. And then private loans only or school-backed loans. You're listening to the Carl Jackson Show. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. So, all right. So I read this column like many of you did, or read some of these polls like many of you have, about college students that are obsessed or apparently favoring socialism over capitalism, or at least they think so. But the truth of the matter is they don't know what the hell socialism is. They don't know what capitalism is because they've not been taught. I looked at, there was a column on College Fix. More college students favor socialism than capitalism, according to new polls. And this was a poll from Axios and the Generation Lab. Many of you have already heard about these, but I want to get into this because there is a correlation. And what I'm going to be doing this week and next is I'm going to be taking on some of these arguments about affordability because obviously you have socialists like Ma'am Danny in New York City. You have the lady that won this week in Seattle, the new mayor. Forgive me, I forget her name at this moment, that won in Seattle. And people really believe that they like socialism. And the reason why they believe that they like socialism is because they've gotten a taste of socialism. What are you saying, Carl? These people are clueless. These people are clueless. And I do say this, listen, I think it's incumbent upon conservatives. I think it's incumbent upon Republicans to be able to communicate better, for one, but also to implement capitalistic policies that'll turn this freaking government around. And I'll get into some of the arguments. I'll do a podcast later on Trump's tariffs, some new information that is out on that, but I want to stick to this momentarily. College affordability. There is a correlation between college affordability and those that say, students that say they favor socialism. And that's the case that I'd like to make. Do you think students really understand that under socialism, just consider this. Just consider this. Let me give you some of the top issues they're concerned about. They're concerned about inflation. They're concerned about healthcare. They're concerned about education. Many of them listed in this poll. They're concerned about the economy. They're concerned about being priced out of homes. Okay. That sounds great. That's fair. Listen, I want you guys to understand, and I don't want to make excuses for the Republican Party. I knew this would happen because the Trump administration inherited a mess. But one thing I disagree with President Trump on is the place. And actually, I'm not a tariff guy. I'm a free market. I'm a free market capitalist. That's what I believe in. But I actually love the way that Trump has used tariffs. But I thought, and I said at the time, if he's going to use them, he's got to lock these things in as quick as possible. We can choke China out all day long when it comes to tariffs. And again, I will get into that. We can choke China out all day long. But if the economy doesn't turn around quickly, people are going to start blaming Trump. And that's exactly what is happening, with people not realizing that we're still technically living under a Biden economy, or at least under his CRs. Meanwhile, Trump's economy is starting to get going. That's actually what these people did. The Democrats did by shutting down the government. It wasn't about healthcare affordability. They didn't know what the heck they were doing, but they decided to make that one of their arguments. But one of the things that the Democrat Party was trying to do with these government shutdowns, when they were willing to starve their own voters, all right, when they were willing to make sure that your travel arrangements are just absolutely horrible and essential workers were not getting paid, when they decided to do that, yeah, it was about power. They were willing to they were willing to starve their voters. A lot of it is these people didn't know what to do, but they knew they wanted to inflict pain, and they knew that they had control. It almost sounds like a bit of socialism. Just a little bit of government control. Because socialism requires central planning. This is what these students want. What the Democrats wanted to do, what they figured they would do, okay, all right, we're going to cause as much pain as possible, but also in order for college students, in order for independents, in order for our voters in Virginia, in New Jersey, in New York City, to feel the pain even more, we've got to make sure that any economic progress collapses. You want the government being in charge of the economy? You want the economy centrally planned? We have a mixed economy right now. A lot of people don't realize that. Think of our big entitlements when it comes to Medicare, Medicaid, all of these things. They take up the vast majority of our federal budget annually. You are living under a bit of socialism anyway, and that has made life unaffordable. Inflation. You know where inflation derives from? Government spending. And frankly, I don't think Republicans are doing a good enough job right now of cutting down government spending. You're worried about healthcare? Guys, the reason why our healthcare system stinks is because a guy by the name of Barack Hussein Obama decided to destroy the best healthcare system in the United States. And with the help of former Speaker Pelosi, he did just that. By controlling our healthcare system through the government. We have to, when do you get sick? What if you get sick in the spring? What if you get sick in the summer? What if you get sick, fall, winter, whatever? You have to wait for the Obamacare exchanges to open before you get healthcare? That's socialism, guys. That's socialism. That is central planning. You're worried about the billionaires that Bernie Sanders always talks about, that he only talks about. He used to talk about millionaires and billionaires until he became a multimillionaire by scamming people. And now all he talks about is billionaires. He's such a fraud. But the reason why healthcare is so expensive is because it's virtually socialized. What Obama planned to do was to make our health insurance so expensive. You realize you have dudes that have to pay for pregnancies? You realize that you have women that have to pay for operations or whatever that would typically only happen, regarding men, because they have to spread the love. They have to spread the pain. You used to be able, as an individual, go out and get a great healthcare plan for little to nothing on your own if you weren't employed, if your employer wasn't providing it. You can't do that anymore. Thanks to Obamacare, which is basically socialized medicine. The goal was to use Obamacare to get to socialized medicine, to make it so painful that you would beg for that. And now many people are. Education, college affordability. Again, I'll break that down. The economy. You're worried about the economy? How about we stop bringing in illegal aliens to compete for the jobs that you could have had? Now, I know AI is going to take out some jobs. I get it. I know you're mad because your parents and educators and professors told you get this degree and everything would be hunky dory, and they lied to you. I'm sorry. And some of them, I shouldn't say that everyone lied to you. Many people were well-meaning. But the truth of the matter is, if you're getting a degree in gender studies, if you're getting a degree in how to weave, flower baskets from God knows where, you made a bad choice. But I'm going to tell you how to make college affordable. You've been priced out of housing. One of the things when it comes to housing, you have to deregulate. It's got to be easier to build houses. It's got to be easier to build up when it comes to apartments, new housing, and you got to stop competing for housing against illegals that are coming into the country. Also, you have to stop competing for housing in blue areas where the regulations are so high, you can't build anything new. And then sadly, a lot of people in the blue areas move to red areas or Republican states, drive up prices here because they try to escape all of the regulation from their states. It's insane. But I'll get into college affordability. I really want to hone in on that. This is the Carl Jackson Show. Hey guys, Carl Jackson here for MyPillow. A major retail chain just canceled a massive order, leaving MyPillow with an overstock of classic MyPillows. Now it's your gain. For a limited time, MyPillow is offering their entire classic collection at true wholesale prices. You get the standard MyPillow for just $17.98. If you want more, upgrade to queen size for only $22.98 or king size for $24.98. Snag body pillows for just $29.98 and versatile multi-use pillows for just $9.98. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Carl, that is CARL, or call 800-858-0263. All right. Plus, when you order totals of $75 or more, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. No strings attached. That's right. Premium pillows at unbeatable prices and bonus gifts to top it all off. Don't wait. Head to mypillow.com right now or call 800-858-0263. And don't forget to use the promo code Carl, CARL, to grab your standard MyPillow for just $17.98. That is insane. Can't beat that with a bat.
Republicans have to talk about it, Laura.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put
How did we ever do it before?
Well,
I'll
give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. You know, making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing and very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant, and going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, so let me say this. All right, and so President Trump cleaned that up. Or actually Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, cleaned that up a little bit, because the way the President Trump framed that was just it just didn't sound good. Let's be completely honest. I understand what he's saying, and I agree to some extent, and I disagree to some extent. I think there's room for some people, a very limited amount of people, that have special skills if they need to come to the United States. And come and leave. And I mean, have a deadline where they come and leave to teach some Americans where we haven't been manufacturing some of their trades in order so that we can get off the ground. Hey, so be it, as long as they leave. But my concern is the vast majority of H-1B visas take advantage of it. I remember a story here locally, Disney World, where they were, I believe there were engineers that were working for Disney World. In order for them to get their severance packages, they had to train their replacements. And the only reason Disney brought them in was to be able to pay these people less money. That's insane. That should not happen. So there needs to be serious reform in that program. And I can understand why students are frustrated, because perhaps some of these people are taking your jobs. Now you have to deal with AI as well. But let's talk about it. Let me give you some stats with this, some of these, this poll. Basically, this is the summary from College Fix. So you got college students that are far more optimistic about socialism, even preferring it to capitalism. Again, my argument would be they don't know what it is. They haven't been taught about capitalism or socialism in high school and college. I mean, look at all the people that run around calling Turning Point USA when they have, at Berkeley, UC Berkeley earlier this week, calling them fascists, calling conservatives fascists, calling Donald Trump a fascist. And these people don't even know what these terms mean. They just throw them around. And sadly, I don't even think many of their professors that use them know what they mean. So I think a lot of these colleges, they are in bad shape. But all right, so some prefer socialism over capitalism. This according to new polls that were released by Axios and the Generation Lab. This happened, I guess it came out before last week's election with Mamdani in New York and all these other people. So here's some details on the survey. The poll was conducted during the last week of October. They surveyed 1,574 college students. That's actually a pretty good number. At 2 or 4 year colleges nationwide. It included 728 Democrats, 217 Republicans, 629 independents. That number kind of concerns me because I'm like, 728 Democrats, 629 independents. Yeah, is that one and the same? I'm not exactly sure, but nonetheless, I'll just read the information. So here are the stats. 67% of students surveyed held a positive or neutral opinion of the word socialism, compared with only 40% of respondents holding the same opinion regarding capitalism. Furthermore, negative views of capitalism outweigh negative views of socialism by an even greater difference, 53% versus 23%. 1 in 3 has a neutral view of socialism. 1 in 4 has a neutral view of capitalism. All right. So here's what Mike Allen of Axios said, quote, the survey reveals Gen Z's growing disillusionment with capitalism, fueled by high inflation, surging healthcare and housing costs, and rising influence of billionaires in politics, tech, and media. Listen, man, become successful and become influential. I don't like a lot of rich people, period, just pouring their money, and trying to have their way. If they support a candidate, that's fine. So be it. I don't want their agenda being served up just because they're super uber wealthy. That annoys the crud out of me. But again, all of the things that I talked about, inflation, healthcare, education, the economy, getting out of hand, being priced out of homes, those are government policies. So you say you hate socialism, but you're begging. You say you love socialism, but what you're experiencing is a taste of socialism. This is why I think college affordability is important, because I think college students need to be smarter. Frankly, I'm so disappointed where college used to be this place where you knew either you belonged or you didn't, or you had to work really hard to get there. And it just isn't that way anymore. You have degrees for everything. Here's one thing Peter Thiel said, libertarian billionaire tech mogul. He said this in an interview with the Free Press. He said the draw of socialism for young people is due in part to the fact that they are graduating with 4-year degrees, saddled with mountains of debt, little marketable skills, coupled with the fact that they have been priced out of the American dream of owning a home. Well, stop going woke on these college campuses. Stop allowing illegals to come into the country so you don't have to compete against them. Stop voting for communist socialists like Mamdani in places like New York City, where he wants rent control, even more rent control. From what I understand, you have thousands of abandoned apartment buildings in New York City as it stands now, where landlords will not rent out those spaces because with the rent control, they simply can't make money. They can't afford to fix up the apartments. It's almost cheaper for them to just let them sit empty. And now you want more of that? I mean, it's going to be insane. He's going to have to be a communist and confiscate those buildings. And then he's going to have a lawsuit on his hand. But just think about this. I think the time to make college affordable is first, or the first thing you have to do. And I know people, this may sound like a cliche, and I mentioned it at the beginning of this podcast. You have to get the federal government out of the student loan business. You guys may not know this, but Barack Obama destroyed that too. Before Barack Obama, we had some government federal student loans or federal government student loans. And we had a lot of private lenders out there, or you could get a grant, or you could go to community college, go to 4-year college. Many people might still do that or work. But he allowed the federal government to take over the student loan industry. That's socialism, guys. And because of that, anybody could go to college for whatever the heck they want. And then these colleges were like, man, well, we're getting all this money. Let's make a degree for German basket weaving, gender studies, how chicks can have sticks. I mean, all this nonsense, all these nonsensical degrees that are absolute, complete and utter nonsense. And then these colleges start building buildings. Look at these universities today. And they started adding staff. Most colleges have more administrators than they do faculty, just because they have a buttload of money. I mean, it's insane. So get the government out, go back to private lending, because the affordability crisis will immediately come down, because a private lender will say, what's your ACT score? What's your SAT score? Why do you want to go to college? Why not a trade school? Before they give you money. Or make these schools like Harvard, that is sitting on tens of billions of dollars in, I forget what you call it, but basically in the bank. Hey, no, you guys finance the students. If the colleges have to finance the students, then guess what? They're not going to allow them to take out these exorbitant loans. And when they get out of college, what they can do, and some colleges, I believe, are trying this, according to your income, they'll take a percentage of your income so that you could pay it back. That's what should happen. So get college, the federal government, out of student loans. Again, the ACT, SAT, all that stuff. Affirmative action needs to go bye-bye. ACT and SAT needs to be reapplied. And again, before you even go to college, especially in this AI world, you need to start looking at the fields that are going to support energy, rare earth minerals, AI. What's going to be needed? Do I even need to go to college anymore? These are the questions that you have to ask. But just very important things, simple ways to get college under control. Get the federal government out of the college lending business. That alone will have just huge ramifications of making sure. Oh, yeah. Raise the academic standards. Again, ACT. I just want to make sure that I reiterate this stuff. In the federal government student loan program, this stuff is easy. That's easy. Private loans. 4 things. Trade schools. Start offering that in high school. Raise academic standards for admissions, no illegals as well, in federal government student loans, and go to private loans or direct student loans. You'll bring it down.